Wheat nudging £150 a tonne, oilseed rape at nearly £350 a tonne, and barley at around £130 a tonne. Prices that are up between 50 and 100% on last year. You'd be forgiven for thinking that the money is rolling in. But that only tells one side of the story. While it's true revenues are significantly up on recent years and manufacturers have order lists as long as their arms, the feel-good factor is being tempered by soaring input costs, largely on the back of rising global oil prices, creating a real profit challenge for Britain's arable farmers. Here at the cereals event, farmers have turned out in their thousands to analyse, scrutinise, learn and interact with the latest in farming technology, all aiming to help them squeeze that little bit more out of their variable inputs, which in some cases have more than doubled in cost since this time last year. Key among those are fertilisers, chemicals and fuel. One farmer telling me today that diesel has already overtaken labour as a cost on the farm. So what's driving the rises in these key inputs for agriculture?
The three key inputs, chemicals, diesel and fertiliser, have gone up significantly on farms over last year. Chemicals, we haven't seen, I don't think yet we've seen the major price increases we could yet potentially see. One of the drivers behind that is the price of oil, energy and the cost of the chemical production process. Diesel, it's quite obvious why diesel is going up. Diesel is going up because the price of crude oil is going up on international markets, and there's a direct relationship there. There's nothing hidden in that market. Fertiliser is going up, and that's a little bit more complicated. We do have a monopolistic supplier in the UK, which potentially could cause us problems. They are the sole manufacturer, and therefore, if they get their plan wrong and don't produce enough, the result will be shortages within the UK. Fertiliser itself is going up on international markets anyway because of demand and supply. There is strong demand, supply is very tight. A significant cost of producing fertiliser is gas. I think it represents something like 60 to 70% of the cost. The sole supplier of gas in Europe is Gazprom in Russia, and they have a differential pricing policy. The price of gas per cube that they supply to Europe is often 10 times higher than the price of gas per cube supplied to their own industry. And these are key drivers pushing the price of these key inputs up, in particular nitrogen fertiliser.
Well, Andrew Ward is this year's cereals host farmer. Andrew, clearly commodity prices are very high and that's a good thing, but input costs have been rising very fast too. What sort of impact has that had on your business?
Well, obviously the biggest impact is with fuel costs in our situation, because we use an awful lot of NutriBio or sewage sludge on the farm, which is obviously quite reasonably priced. So that cuts out the need for a lot of the bagged fertiliser, as you call it. So the biggest impact with the rising cost is the fuel in our situation. And with rising prices now, 65-70p a litre, you've got to question every single time you take a tractor out the shed, can you justify that machine working? Because if you can't, this recreational tillage, as I call it, is a definite no-no. And with the amount of cultivations that are done on, in my opinion, that are totally not acceptable and not needed, the fuel price really has a huge impact on the bottom line of your gross margin.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously this year people are talking about this year's harvest being quite a profitable harvest because they've probably be selling at quite high prices, and last year's costs when they were buying fertiliser and fuel and things weren't as dramatically high as they are now. If you fast forward 12 months to next year, I guess you're expecting that the margin's going to be squeezed, and if that's the case, what are you sort of planning to do on the farm to react to that?
Well, I think we've already started with the way we cultivate the soil, in the fact that we don't plough anymore and we haven't got a PTO driven machine on the farm. And with establishing oilseed rape, we've just this last year gone on to a subsoiler seeding system, which has cut out 2 passes. And on our oilseed rape acreage of 120 hectares, we are saving around about £3,000 in fuel savings alone, and that's with fuel costs at 60p a litre. So when you look at that on 120 hectares, that is a considerable saving. And when you take into account your labour, depreciation, your spares and your total running cost of a tractor, the savings are obviously a great deal more than that. And so I think we're already down the line in looking at that sort of savings at the moment. And also with the fact we're not ploughing, You know, the seedbeds we produce are far better than we used to do when we were ploughing, and we're getting higher yields and better soil structure for that. So we have actually been down this sort of system, if you like, and look at cost cutting. We're actually helping the bottom line, and have been doing for the last sort of 2 or 3 years.
There are a number of things we're looking at to reduce diesel on the farm. Most of them are very simple. They take a little bit of effort and a little bit of time. But just think about what you're actually doing. For example, cultivation depth. Do you really need to go that deep? Dig a hole, have a look, just to see where the compaction is. What problems are you actually trying to reduce with cultivations? A couple of inches will make a huge difference. As we all know, we can go a little bit quicker, we'll do more acres in a day. Therefore, you're going to use less diesel if you're going slightly shallower. I'm not suggesting you don't cultivate deep if you need to, but if you can get away with a little bit shallower, you will save some money. Look at ballasting your tractor. I mean, we all run around. I put myself in this, you know, do we take the weights off when we don't need them? Do you run around with a sprayer with a full set of weights on? I'd like to bet that there are a number of people that actually do. That's carrying half a ton or more around unnecessarily. So that's enough. When we've added all these small differences together, the difference between the top 25% of our farms and the bottom 25% of our farms was £16 a hectare or 38 litres.
Okay. Yeah, our technologies are looking to reduce inputs, I guess really by increasing productivity is an obvious one with systems like AutoTrack. Also, you may be in the show today, there's iTech Pro being demonstrated up on the demonstration area there, all aimed at increasing productivity. We know there's up to 20% increase that we can offer, and of course that reflects in the inputs and the reduction in inputs and time and diesel.
Our experience in the sort of savings that could be made in the optimisation of fertiliser, especially via a soil mineral nitrogen analysis, are up to 40% savings on the fertiliser bill in certain situations, in certain crops. At today's prices, that could equate to £30 a hectare without any problems at all.
The global food economy looks very different to how it was a year ago, and there's no doubt that producing food is much higher on the political and consumer agenda. Clearly, there are things farmers can do to mitigate the impact of rising input costs, and manufacturers are seeking to find solutions. The world needs its farmers more than ever before, and more often than not, it's farmers who are the real innovators. So if you've got an idea, why not share it on our forum, FWI Space, and let other farmers know how you'll be meeting the profit challenge over the next year.